appreciate you guys coming. Like I said, I'd like to welcome my School 10 family. I want to thank those guys for making it. The first person I'd like to introduce before we start anything is the chairman of the Parking Authority. It comes in the invitation, Reverend Clayton. I know.
Weary years, God of our silent tears, thou hast brought us thus far on the way. Thou hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in thy path we pray. We give praise to thee, O God, on this day for this time of remembrance and reflection. For this monument and our gathering today, honor you and remember those who gave their lives for the cause of freedom and justice for all people. Bless our city and those who shall see this monument from this day forward, they may be inspired to live a life that makes this world better for all people. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The next person I'd like to introduce is the Vice President of the Passaic Housing Authority. He's also the past President of the Passaic School Board. I'd like to introduce him and my class, a 4th grade class from School 10, to come up here and do our Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, all right, all right. Let's give it up for our young people.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point in the ceremony, it's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Paterson Parking Authority, a guy whose tireless work has made sure that this thing happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Tony Perez.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was over 18 years ago that then former Councilman Joey Torres and Councilwoman Vera Ames, along with Councilwoman Marilee Jackson, Councilman Al Steele, Councilman Marty Barnes, Councilman Jeff Jones, Councilman Tom Rooney, Councilman Tom Hayton, Councilman Ernie Hutchinson, and then Mayor Pasquarel set in motion the designation of this site as an official historic site. 11 years ago, the Paterson Parking Authority, at the behest of then Mayor Torres, established a fund for the design and build of a monument. Working in conjunction and under the guidance of Ms. Dolores Van Rensselaer and the foundation board members, and through years of hard work and dedication by many people who are here, today we have reached this moment with a purpose to make sure that we protect the legacy of this sacred place, and that we recognize in no small part that we are who we are because of what happened here and the sacrifices that were made.
Yeah.
Do we have any council members here today?
Davis.
Councilman Davis, you're going to be called up. I wanted to recognize the City Council. They were integral partners in this journey, both past and present. At this time, I want to also introduce to you the Board of Commissioners of the Paterson Parking Authority, who work tirelessly and are volunteers and do their due diligence day in and day out. We have Commissioner Sam Gow, we have Commissioner and Chairman Kenneth Clayton, Commissioner Dwayne Cox, Commissioner Aida Rodriguez, who's not here at the moment. She's here, I don't see her. Aida, the hardest working woman in show business. Commissioner Ashley Turnbull, Commissioner Joe Barbieri, Commissioner Juan Jimenez. As we embarked on this journey, past commissioners that have contributed to this effort were as follows: Elise Evans, former chairwoman, freeholder, and assemblywoman who played a significant role on this project. Charles Walker, who brought back the information from Battle Creek that set us on this journey. John Schultes, Bob Rosenberg, the late Paula Santana, and Ray Regan. We also want to thank members of the Historic Board Commission for their hard work and guidance in helping us develop this site. Kenneth Simpson, the chair, Akima Redmond, Martin Felowitz, Harold Foster, Richard Walter, William C. Tate, Joanne Wiley, Muhammad Ahmed, and Kader Abuasa. The staff of Kelly Ruffle, Matthew Jordan, and Executive Director Gianfranco Arcanidi. Collectively, do outstanding work for our city and our county as a whole, and that is our Board of Chosen Freeholders, who in a time of need stepped up with the support that we needed and that makes a difference, dollars. TJ Best, we had one conversation about this, and with that conversation, this young man ran all the way through, brought it home. And for that, we shall forever be grateful, my friend. You are a true star. Thank you very much. But I want to recognize the county of chosen freeholders, frozen cheese holders. Pat Lepore, TJ, of course, John Bartlett, Rhonda Cotronell, Terry Duffy, Bruce James, and Hector Laura. Also community leaders that in one way or another have helped shape this site, such as Eddie Little, the late Clem Price, Wahida Muhammad, my dear friend, Bilal Hakim, and the late Kamal Kalfani, who played such an important part in this project.
Yeah.
I want to take this time to start the program officially by welcoming the First Lady of the City of Paterson, a woman that cares, sincere, humble, family woman, our First Lady, Sonia Torres.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to apologize on behalf of my husband, the mayor. As Tony indicated, he was called to Washington, D.C. and regrets not being here with all of you today. Ms. Dolores Van Rensselaer, President of the Huntoon Van Rensselaer Underground Railroad Foundation. Congressman Bill Pascrell, Senator Nellie Poe, Assembly members Shavonda Sumter and Benji Wimberly, Passaic County Freeholders, council members, representatives, Passaic County Community College, City National Bank, and North Jersey Federal Credit Union. Good afternoon, special guests and dear friends. It is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of my husband, Mayor Jose Joey Torres. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the unveiling of the Huntoon Van Rensselaer Underground Railroad Monument. Today is a historic day for Paterson.
Can you hear me now?
Whoa. Yeah, I want to bring it down a little
Good
bit.
afternoon, everybody. It fills my heart with pride and joy to know that within Paterson's boundaries and landscape, two men guided by an enormous faith in the dignity of every human being led a clandestine movement of Paterson of people out of slavery. Josiah Huntoon, a white self-made prominent spice merchant, and his black engineer friend, William Van Rensselaer, were both abolitionists, American heroes, who as conductors of the Underground Railroad led families and led African Americans to freedom. It was during this time that Garin Mountain, the hill, served as a lookout point to a small factory on Broadway. And when the way was clear, a lantern was placed in the safe house tower, and the escaping slaves and their guides would enter the city into rooms and basements until the following night. 18 years ago, while a member of the city council, my husband, Mayor Torres, initiated the motion to make this lot an official historic landmark, for he believes strongly that it is in the public's interest to protect the extraordinary history of this city. As a matter of fact, he dedicated 3 bricks to this memorial site in remembrance of his loved ones that have passed. From that day forward, the City of Paterson Parking Authority, with Director Perez, under the guidance of the HVUGRR Foundation, spearheaded the creation of this monument, and for this we are forever grateful. Designed by acclaimed architect astronaut and pioneer, Mr. Ed White. It represents the personal stories of courage of thousands of men and women who traveled down Garrett Mountain to freedom. Their stories move our hearts and help us recognize the triumph of the human spirit. In 1868, the great civil rights leader Frederick Douglass wrote to Harriet Tubman, Moses, as she was known in the movement, "I have had the applause of the crowd, while the most that you have done has been witnessed by a few, trembling, scared, and footsore bondmen and women, whom you have led out of the house of bondage, and whose heartfelt, God bless you, has been your only reward. The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and of your heroism." Today, the city of Paterson, Garrett Mountain, and this sacred ground, along with the midnight sky and silent stars, are witnesses to their bravery. May their courage and valor always see itself reflected in this monument, and may it show the world the great pride the city of Paterson and its citizens feel in calling Josiah Huntoon and William Van Rensselaer beloved sons of Paterson. Today we recognize them so that future generations will never forget their story. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend, and I mentioned her before, but I have to say a couple of words because she was the pioneer that really started the process. Councilwoman Vera Ames, my dear friend. At this time, I would like to have the pleasure of introducing to you a young lady who works tirelessly for our city, for our community, responsible, and I say that with a capital R, for bringing motor vehicle to the city and making sure that I gave him a good deal. We did that. We did that, right, commissioners? Ladies and gentlemen, our state senator and our dear friend and pride, Emilie Pope.
First and foremost, let me just say how very happy and honored I am to be here today. And to the Van Rensselaer family, I want to give a very, very special, warm salute to all of you. Today is a remarkable day for our city. And while the time period that we are talking about today represents a dark time in our nation's past, this monument pays a tribute to an important part of Paterson's history. It was only 18 years ago that we learned the real significance of this site as part of the Underground Railroad and of the actions of the men who helped to pave the way to freedom for those traveling north. These men risked their lives, as did the men, women, and children that they fed, housed, and assisted on their voyage. And they did so below the very ground we are standing upon today. This site will forever be an important part of our cities and country and our country's history. And it is only because of the work of so many people that contributed to this effort that we are able to be truly honored, that we're able to truly honor Paterson's history in such a beautiful way. Today, as we unveil the monument, it is only fitting that we come together as leaders, as a community, to mark this site, paying respect to these individuals from generations past, and providing a site that we hope will serve as a reminder of the power of cooperation, friendship, and love for years to come. I see today among us so many young children from our public schools, people of all ages as I look around. It is so important that we come together today to really speak about the history, learn from it, but also talk about what is important for us in the future. This monument will always serve here for that purpose, to keep reminding us of the human spirit of what really makes this great country, the country that we love so much, but the human spirit and the spirit of those two individuals that really wanted to do the right thing for everyone. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I have in front of me a joint Senate and General Assembly resolution that we have introduced in both the Senate and the Assembly by my colleagues, Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter and Assemblyman Benji Wimberly. And as you come forward, I'm going to ask if our Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter is unable to be here with us today, but Assemblyman Benji Wimberly's Chief of Staff, Yvette Rowland, is here on his behalf, and she has a couple of a message from Assemblyman Wimberly. So, Yvette, why don't you come forward and read your remarks so that everyone knows, and then to stand with us as we make the presentation of the resolution.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yvette Rowland. I am Assemblyman Benji Wimberly's Chief of Staff, and the Assemblyman is out of state and was trying to get back here in time, but he asked that I please come and represent him and read a statement from him. And it says, "Today is a great day in the city of Paterson. When there is so much violence going on in the city and the nation, today we celebrate our rich history with the unveiling of the Underground Railroad Monument. The Underground Railroad was a network of secret routes and safe houses used by the 19th century slaves of African descent in the United States to escape to free states in Canada with the aid of abolitionists and allies who were sympathetic to their cause. There are those who suggest that by 1850, over 100,000 slaves had escaped via the railroad. So today in our great city, with the assistance from the Huntoon Van Rensselaer Underground Foundation and families, has been keeping its goal of inspiring racial cooperation through the saga of the heroic journey from slavery to freedom. I thank those who have participated in this great unveiling because it will forever stand as a reminder of our history. It will make a passerby stop and ask, what is all of this about? They will ask the question of who, what, where, and why. It starts the conversation that has to continue to tell the story of those before us who have paved the way for us to enjoy some of the freedoms we enjoy today. So I thank the Huntoon Van Rensselaer Underground Foundation for their due diligence in taking the time for all of us to remember that the city of Paterson has played a part in American history, but most importantly, Black history. Today, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. Assemblyman Benji Wimberly, Legislative District 35.
The man that gave me life, 1993, by appointing me, he said, you can either go to the library board or the parking authority board, in 1993. And I said, well, I don't know what the parking authority does, but I like books. And Nellie happened to be in the office, and she goes, no, you want to go to the parking authority. And the journey started in 1993 because of somebody that I have forever considered a friend. Paterson has no greater fighter than this gentleman. And nothing gives me, and I know you, more of a sense of pride when he stands in the middle of the House floor and says, blah, 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 and it's Paterson with one T. Am I correct, Congressman? Am I correct? Paterson born, Paterson bred, Paterson raised, Paterson he bleeds. We're honored, sincerely honored, to have this man to serve us as Congressman of our district. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Bill Pasquarello.
Dolores, has been a long time. 20 years ago, you and I made a commitment. And the witness is Vera Ames. Sometimes commitment takes long. This is not history. This is now. Our past is now. We honor the past. And Pat Graham used to say, we don't want to put purple robes around it. This is now. Folks who came before us know that the struggle continues. It's an honor for me to be here. Reverend clergy, you did a great job, Ms. Torres. Great job. In fact, we got second thoughts now. At least you're listening. It's a great day for Paterson. Really a great day. And Dolores, I remember you telling me what was so disturbing to you is when you drove by here, it just wasn't fitting when you knew what happened. I mean, the building's gone. Took the building down. Part of history left. But what was done in this corner had a lot to do with why you and I are here today. So to your family and the family that joined you, the Huntoon family, worked together. They were partners. They were not only friends, they were partners in this business. I say thank you for helping us remind each other that this is not a history lesson. This is real. So we thank the the Underground Railroad Foundation. We dedicated this site to remember the seminal role Paterson played in the Underground Railroad. Mayor Kramer and I used to talk about this all the time. How many things we discovered each week about where Paterson was in history. Just when you thought you knew everything, you knew very little. That's the truth, Reverend Clayton. What we discovered, though, was always something that made us try to find something else. That's why this city will never die. That's why this city still has kick and life in it. And the people here really love their city. But don't knock down our city. Because when you do that, not only are you knocking down our history, but you're knocking down what's going on now in the search for hope to make life a lot better for a lot of other people. This is now. This is not the past. So the Excelsior Coffee and Spice Factory that was on this spot right here was a large and very prosperous business. And Joshua Huntoon was one of the wealthiest men in this city. There's a lot of wealthy men in this city. In the 19th and the 20th centuries, many of them took off. None of them left. And you know what is sad to me today as we talk about where we're going here as a city? That the very people who struggled to get here, their children left when the grass they thought was greener. So we need this generation to stay. We need this generation not just to remember where they came from, but to see the opportunities that are here, to look to the future. Look to the future. Despite this factory that stood on this corner being demolished, it was over 30 years ago, we are still able to gather here today and honor Joshua and William, the white owner of the coffee factory, the black apprentice, the business partner, and the friend. This monument is long overdue. Its significance is not. This is a testament to the moral courage of individuals who risked their lives. Stop complaining. They risked their lives for others. They could have easily been ignored, those folks. We honor them with this monument. Tomorrow we honor them with our actions. I'm honored to be here, Anthony. I'm honored to be against a beautiful day and with such good friends. When I came back from D.C. a little while ago, stopped for my cup of coffee at Grady's. I came out of Grady's, I looked down East 18th Street and I said, there is so many good things happening in this town. We owe it to each other not to forget it. God bless you and thank you for inviting me.
The next person we'd like to bring up is the Assemblyman. He's also the City Council President of the City of Passaic. Please welcome Assemblyman Gary Sheriff.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the privilege to be with all of you today on this extraordinarily important day. I bring regards from the Mayor of the City of Passaic, Alex Blanco, who sincerely apologizes that something occurred in his schedule just a few hours before today's event. It was on the schedule. But he asked me to convey to you on behalf of my office as the Assemblyman of the 36th Legislative District to join with you in this important day. I've heard so much as you have heard of the 30 years of trials and tribulations to get this monument erected. You'll forgive me, I don't know of those years. But what I do know is what we all know of the role and the part that the Underground Railroad played in America's history, in Paterson's history, and we salute Paterson as our sister city. This monument commemorates, it reaffirms, it re-acknowledges that which happened in a very, very dark period of this country's history. And yet somehow it is not a commemoration of those awful years, those very awful years, but rather a commemoration of two gentlemen who brought hope, who brought reality to that hope by establishing this Underground Railroad right here in Paterson, which facilitated the transport of men and women from the south to the north through Canada. It strikes me as being so appropriate that right across the street, right behind each and every one of us, is the campus of Passaic County Community College, a place where men and women learn each and every day. And I see with us is Dr. Rose, the president of the college. It is only appropriate that when those students come out of that building and go into it, they see this monument before them. They are reminded of the tribulations and the trials which make America what it is today. And they are reminded as well of the hope which men like Mr. Huntoon and Mr. Von Rensselaer brings to each and every one of us. Just a few days ago, we all celebrated Veterans Day. We acknowledged those men and women who have given their lives, their time, to ensure democracy, to ensure freedom, to ensure hope. More than anything that I can imagine, standing in front of this monument does that very same thing. It reaffirms the promise of America. It reaffirms that hope. It reaffirms that which all of us are so committed to preserve each and every day. Thank you for the pleasure to be here with you.
The next person I'd like to bring up is the councilman from this ward. Please welcome Councilman Davis.
Good afternoon, family.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
This site, this monument here made us and is making us connected. The reason why we are connected is because of these two friends, these two gentlemen. The Underground Railroad was a journey to freedom. It was a network of secret roads and safe houses by the 19th century slaves, African descendants in the United States to escape to the Free States, and to Canada. In Paterson, New Jersey, we are honored and pleased to have had two men who believed in freedom, working together, friendship, regardless of their class, color, or creed. So I am saying, let's take a page out of the two men, Mr. Hontoon and Mr. Van Rensselaer, and let's welcome each other, and let's live in harmony as they believe. We can do this, Paterson, because we are one, and we are family. I just want to take a little sidebar that before I knew about this site, going to John F. Kennedy High School and walking home, I see one of my high school mentors here, Mr. Smallwood, was here, and we used to walk past this site, and he was the one that educated me on the site before it became a site that's designated today. And as a freshman walking through, I was honored, didn't know what it was, and then he shared that with me, and I explained 3 years later when it came in '82. So I'm thankful to have friends, and I see so many faces here. We are proud because we are Paterson, one family. God bless.
It's now my pleasure to introduce the Historic Preservation Commission Chairman, Marty Feiglis.
Thank you very much, but I have to own up to something. We were a bridge from my chairmanship to Kenny Simpson's chairmanship. So if they make a movie of this thing, I'll play the Van Rensselaer family, and you could be happy. I know Kenny is the current chairman. We are very, very proud of one of our listings, one of our local landmarks, being honored today. I too used to come by this site and saw an empty plot of land, weeds growing up, water ponding here, and said if this is a historic site, people have to know about it. And I think today, everyone here is aware of the importance of this site and will soon see a magnificent piece of sculpture that was made specifically for the history that was made here. And I know Kenny wants to share a few words with you.
Yes, I'll be brief. Once again, my name is Kenny Simpson, and I'm the chairman of the Paterson Historic Preservation Commission. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm truly excited about this new monument. We now have a visual testimony that something of importance actually happened at this site. So I just want to say that the Historic Preservation is truly thankful for everyone who contributed to making this project a success. So thank you.
Come on up here, Joe Billy Jr.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joseph Billy. I am the Executive Director of the Summit Housing Authority, and I'm also pleased to serve as the Senior Vice President of the New Jersey National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. New Jersey NARO. That's what it means. New Jersey NARO represents 90 different housing agencies throughout the state of New Jersey. We service roughly 110,000 moderate and low-income families all throughout the state, from the bottom to the top. And we have always had a great partnership with a lot of our good agencies throughout. Many of the agencies are in communities where the Underground Railroad traveled. And there's a number of our residents who were serviced, their ancestors were serviced by the Underground Railroad. And we're very proud to partner with the foundation in order to make this monument a reality. I would never be able to elaborate on the eloquent comments that came from all our previous presenters, but we're here on a more practical basis because we bring in some cash. So it's our pleasure on behalf of New Jersey NARO to present the foundation with this check for $1,000 to assist them with the building of the monument, the bricks, and the continuation of this wonderful, wonderful tribute. Thank you.
The presence of Councilwoman Ruby Cotton. Councilwoman, thank you for being here. And Councilman Andre Saya. Andre, thank you. Thank you for being here. I'll try to work the room to see if I see any additional members of the City Council. This time I want to thank some individuals, well actually corporations, that stepped up to the plate very early on when this concept was brought to the table. One being City National Bank. I don't know if they have a representative here today, but thank you very much, Fabio, manager of City National Bank. They donated $5,000 to this cause very early on, and for that we are eternally grateful. And North Jersey Federal Credit Union, my credit union, yes, we have a representative here. They donated also $1,000 at the very beginning of the journey. So for that, we say thank you, and please come up, TJ.
But I want to thank Mayor Pat Kramer for talking to the heavens to make sure the sun shines right on the monument to keep Tony and Dwayne warm enough so that they don't have to wear a coat. That being said, as Tony talked about, you know, it's really important that we get this project done. A person who is not here today, who's been very instrumental in bringing this to fruition, is our former freeholder director and our former Assemblywoman Elise Evans. You can clap for her, please. I have the privilege of calling Elise Evans my mama and my mentor. And as soon as I got on the board of chosen freeholders, this was on the hopper, as she said, for quite some time. And she charged me with making sure that we brought it to fruition. And thanks to the hard work of my colleagues on the board of chosen freeholders and the dedication and commitment on behalf of our board of chosen, on behalf of our open space commission, and again, Kathleen Karen is here today, we were able to allocate the resources necessary to bring this to fruition. And with that being said, I would like to make a presentation of a check, if we could have everyone up again. This check is for $171,045 to make this monument happen. So.
You see how many people are behind those who give us their legacy. This is this generation. Thank you.
And again, just to commemorate what a historic moment this is, the Board of Chosen Freeholders has drafted a resolution, a proclamation, on behalf of all 501,000 residents of the County of Passaic, signed by our Freeholder Director, Pat Lepore, and the other 7 members of the Board of Chosen Freeholders. Just a last comment. I'm going to say how encouraged I am to see so many young people here. You know, I work for the Paterson Board of Education, and I remember as a student, there's always about one chapter, maybe even a couple of paragraphs, not even a full chapter, that talks about the significance of the Underground Railroad to American history. And living in a place like the city of Paterson and growing up here, on every block that you go to, Paterson is only 8 square miles, but on every single corner, on every single block, every single business, every single building is a history there, and there's a story there. And it's important that we educate our young people, not just about the story of our country, but also about the story of our town and how our town has contributed so greatly to Americans' history and America's story. So again, teachers, thank you so much for bringing our young people out, and thank you all for coming out here today. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Freeholder Best, helping our kids practice their place values. Very good. Next people we'd like to introduce, please, is the Huntington Van Tune Underground Railroad Foundation, please come up and join us. Ron Van Rensselaer, Eric Lander, Irma Gordon, and Dr. Stephen Rose.
Okay, on behalf of the board of the Huntington and Rensselaer Underground Railroad Foundation, we say good afternoon and thank you all for coming. Whether this is your first visit to this site or you have been with us along this journey of 20 to 25 years, or its development where 18 years ago, when then Councilman Torres invoked Lincoln's famous words at Gettysburg, calling this hallowed ground. And it was just full of glass and nothing else, but it was hallowed ground, and it came from there. It had just been saved from development as a fast food restaurant. There are many direct descendants of both the Huntoon and Rensselaer families here today, and we want to thank everyone who is involved in any way to make this possible. The good congressman said, this is the future, so it falls on me to give you the history lesson. I apologize. But to better understand what Josiah and William accomplished here in this small corner of Paterson, let's go back a few years, in 2000 to be exact, to the parable of the Good Samaritan found in the Gospel of Luke. Parables were stories that always had deeper meanings and always ended with a question. In this story, a man was on a very dangerous road from Jericho to Jerusalem. He was set upon by robbers, left for dead. Many people passed him by. In those days, they were called Levites, and today we call them the rich and the famous. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to. Finally, a Samaritan came by. Now, the Samaritans were not known as upper people. They were very low. But it was the Samaritan that helped this poor man on the side of the road, brought him to a hotel, gave him food, gave him shelter, and was able to send him on his way. So move forward now, a few 100,000 years almost, into the 1850s, where the road from Jericho to Jerusalem are now the routes of the Underground Railroad, where the runaway slaves at great peril to themselves and to others were navigating from safe house to final freedom in Canada. This couldn't be a terminal because even if you got caught here in the north, you could be sent back to the south. So you'd be returned to your owners with heavy fines, even the risk to the people that were harboring them. Things were different then. The officials and the socially prominent of that time didn't want to get involved. The rich and famous didn't want to get involved to offer these travelers for fear of breaking the law. This was a law, federal law. We don't think it was a good one, but it was a federal law. Or doing something that went against the social mores of the time. Fortunately, the partnership of the abolitionists, like Huntoon and Van Rensselaer, allowed many slaves to spend time in a safe house, either here or across the street in the basement of the spice factory. Right now, where we stand on their risky journey to freedom. Oral tradition was passed down to me from one of Josiah's daughters. I'm a great-great-grandson, so I didn't know him personally. Of the many guests who passed through Paterson, even then, Paterson was a go-to destination. Written records are harder to come by, and we all know this, and no one knows this more than Dolores, who's been looking and researching. If the conductors and engineers had been caught with a manifest or a list of people that had passed through, the whole railroad would have been compromised. So in effect, we are unveiling a monument to lawbreakers, if you want to be technical about it. But even a lawbreaker could be a good Samaritan in putting others among themselves. So this monument is placed here to remind us of the good Samaritans that have brought pride to this city for what they accomplished. There are many Underground Railroad sites that have been documented and memorialized, but this is our site in our city. What happened here until the Emancipation Proclamation basically shut down the Underground Railroad was a partnership between these two men whose ancestors arrived on these shores not as freemen, but as indentured servants or worse. They came to Paterson. Neither one was born here, but they came to, not as an accident of birth, but they came here by choice to live here and assume the role of the Good Samaritan. So let's hope today that we have inherited some of the genes that they had in Rensselaer and Huntoon, and then we can be the Good Samaritans of today. I thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I would like to acknowledge the presence of Reverend Dr. Lewis McDowell. Reverend, thank you for being here. And Paterson's Reverend, who I love dearly and respect, true pioneer. I want him to come up and say a few words. Our own Reverend Rowe. Rev, come on up, Rev. Come on. You got to enlighten us a little bit. Reverend Rowe, former councilman as well of this city, and one of the people that actually made this thing happen.
Thank you very much. What a sight this is. I talked to Dolores earlier. I had not met her before, but I was concerned about how many people would be here today. But I believe in Paterson and her people, and I believe that her best days are ahead of her, not behind her. And you've proven it with your presence here today. There are those who have talked about hope that was given in the past. They are a symbol of brotherhood, peace, and liberation. And I think that is the thing that we should take into tomorrow and the decades ahead. That only as we come together can there be true peace, brotherhood, and liberation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask the First Lady to come up. And now we're going to do the actual unveiling of the monument. I'm going to ask Ed, and I had Ed for later, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ed. Ed Dwight is the sculptor of this monument. Ed Dwight is a renowned sculptor with many sculptures throughout the United States, including Washington, Atlanta, Battle Creek. Amazing. But more importantly, Ed was the first African American astronaut in training in the United States of America. And he is one of the most humble, decent human beings you will ever meet. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want him to just say a few words because this man is truly special.
Thanks, Tony. As you all have already heard, monuments aren't just done by sculptors. You've seen a litany of the supporters and the people and the people who did all the hard work for over these many years. And so I come in late to the process. I want to extend a special thanks to Dolores Van Rensselaer, who not only did the research, but she had the brilliance and the insight to pick me as the sculptor. Good work. I've done three. This is the third Underground Railroad I've done. But the other ones were kind of renowned and expected. But as I go around the country and I mention Paterson and the Underground Railroad, and people look at me like I'm crazy. What are you talking about? So I want to thank you again because all of the memorials I do have really more history than they do making art. And the whole idea, the challenge is taking that history and turning it into visual form that'll prompt and motivate and inspire people to come and wonder why. Somebody already mentioned about the why of it all, and why is this here? And that's critical to stimulate thought and to have people opening up books and going to Google and doing all the other stuff to find out why this is here and why it's important for it to be here. So again, thank you for your tenacity and your hard work and all the other wonderful things for gathering all of this, because this thing had to start someplace. So, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words and all that fun stuff. And it's getting cold out here, so let's take the thing. Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna do the unveiling. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hantoon Van Rensselaer Monument, 11 years in the making. Hallelujah.
Giver of salvation. By his stripes, I'm healed. Yeah, my God is awesome. Listen, today I am forgiven. His grace is why I'm living. Somebody ought to praise his holy name. Come on, you say, my God. Come on, awesome. See where the Lord has brought you from. Awesome. Let's talk about why he's awesome. You say, he's mighty. He's mighty. He's mighty. He's mighty. Awesome. Somebody ought to lift your voice and celebrate. If you know he's been good, you say, he's holy. He's holy. He's holy. He's holy. Awesome. Somebody ought to lift your voice and testify. If you know he's been good, you say,
up here. And for that, for your help, Dr. Rose, I will be eternally grateful. You know the meaning of a handshake, and you're one of the few people that know that, and I appreciate that very much. But TJ Best, again, stepped up to the plate, told him about the need. We were short. The monument was paid for, but we didn't have anything to supplement it. We didn't have any landscaping. We didn't have anything. And what's the sense, from our perspective, the Board of Commissioners, to have this without the necessary supplement? And he took the ball. He ran with it. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to bring this home." And thanks to him, thanks to all of the freeholders, Kathleen Karen over at the Open Space, I hope she's here, wonderful. But it was done. So for that, we say thank you, and please come up, TJ. I know you're a bashful young man, but we appreciate you too.
I'm going to ask our freeholder director, Pat Laporte, if he doesn't mind joining me up here. You can squeeze around.